Today, we're chatting to Sophie Lee, who has always inspired us with her story, and we can't wait for you to hear it. She's a Manchester-based influencer and motivational speaker with an incredible story to tell. She channeled her near-death experience into a way to help others and is now a campaigner, activist, educator, and delivers talks all the way from local schools to the iconic Louvre in Paris on racism and body positivity. She was the winner of the Influencer of the Year award, and today she shares her survival journey and the beauty in the second chance she got at life. Okay, welcome back to the Leave It Here podcast, a podcast that exists to normalize talking about our experiences with mental health and looking at how success and struggle can coexist together. And I am absolutely buzzing, I know you are as well,
buzzing
to be welcoming the incredible, admirable Sophie Lee to our Leave It Here podcast. And yay! And honestly, I'm not just saying this, but we've had so many conversations together already, and the strength that you have shown throughout your journey is like so inspiring to me. You know, Sophie, we'll get into this a little bit later, but whilst doing something that she loved and was passionate about, suffered a traumatic event that it was life or death, right? Yeah. And the way that you pulled yourself out of that is like truly, truly inspiring. So I am absolutely buzzing to have this conversation with you.
And you know what, that means so much, because away from this podcast, we're friends. So to hear that from people who are close to you, you know, is like, wow, like I'm doing something all right then. You know, it's like so nice, because you often forget that. And we're often, especially you being business owners, you forget to commend the people around you and yourself. So thank you so much. And I'm just as in awe of you as you know, you said you are of me. And I think I've got to congratulate you, obviously, from everything you've done. Business moguls.
darling.
Look at
all
us
in a
so
day's
kind to
work.
each other.
Oh my God, did we just become best friends?
I think we did.
No, I remember the day we met you at the Selfridges event, and you came in late. We'll leave
And
that
I'm
there.
sorry.
Leave it here.
A
And
force of energy, though.
literally, a second I met you, I looked at you and you spoke to me, and I was like, oh my God, this energy is unreal. And I knew instantly we was going to be friends.
I went in and I was like, I'm in. I'm sorry, guys. I made it. They're there, rolling their eyes like, take a seat. Take a seat and sit down. Shut up.
That's not what happened.
Yoga Club secrets.
But yeah, since then we've kept in touch. We're always chatting. You're always bumping into each other at the club. And yeah, like you said, we've become friends. So I'm so excited to get into this conversation with you.
So I think we start with, obviously the podcast is talking about our experiences with mental health. And we know that you've had that experience where you have hit rock bottom, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your experience as a whole throughout your life, like your earliest memory, your journey with your mental health. Had you experienced any difficult times with your mental health before that incident happened?
I think when you're a bit younger, you're not self-aware.
Yeah.
You just think, I'm going through all these things, like, why do I feel like this? And, you know, you go through patches in your life where you feel really down, you feel alone, you feel like the outcast. Like, for me, I was really racially bullied. So I think from quite an early age, it was like curiosity mixed with like anxiety, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was just wondering, like, why am I getting crucified for the colour of my skin, for the shape of my eyes, and for the way I look? And that in turn, I think, had a knock-on effect on me mentally with the way I viewed myself. I put so much pressure on me. And at one point, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I wanted to be white.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I didn't want to be my ethnicity.
Yeah.
And I've had a really, really tough time coming to terms with my heritage and all the things that I should be proud of, and you know, my mum and dad and things like that. Like they really, like, they've always been so supportive of me, and like they've always been very traditionally Chinese kind of upbringing background. And for me, when I was going through primary school, I was like, Mom, Dad, just don't speak Chinese to me. Just don't no. Shh.
That's crazy.
It's so shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so shit how other people can, and it happens so much in schools, how that can happen and can have like a long-lasting effect on you and your ability to celebrate yourself and your heritage and your culture and where you've come from, just because of some uneducated kids who don't really think about what they say. And
Yeah.
I guess in school, was you able to speak about that? Did you feel like you had support, and was you able to talk to any of the teachers or anyone about it, or anything that happened?
There was one instinct where I was like 8 years old. So I had a group of friends who used to swap gel pens, you know, swap shoes, swap cardigans, whatever. We were just always around each other. And then one time they just literally in a day turned around to me and didn't speak to me, didn't go near me, like literally segregated me. And I obviously got curious, and I was like, what's wrong? And they said, we don't want to be around you. You've got chinky germs. And I didn't know what that meant.
Oh my
I was 8 years old. And it was, we don't want to be around you. You're dirty.
Oh my God.
You're disgusting. And I told my mum this, and she marched straight into that office and said, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Because this is not right. You know, kids don't just all of a sudden come to school one day and they're racist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this must have come from somewhere. And my mum, you know, I commend her so much, because our Ange,
Go
on, Ange.
Go on, Ange.
she went in there, all guns blazing. She was like, I demand a meeting now. This is absolutely disgraceful. And these kids, obviously, it's not all their fault, because they don't just, like I said, turn around and be racist. They
It's
need
coming
to be
from somewhere.
educated. That is what needs to happen. And my mum would then go on to explain to me and these young children what racism is.
Wow.
And at 8 years old, that was a bit of a first insight of thinking, like, okay, I'm different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to have to start accepting the fact that this is going to be a regular occurrence, which
Is shit in
yeah.
itself. It's terrible in itself that you have to, at 8 years old, accept that, like, or think that you have to accept that.
yeah.
It's crazy, the pattern of each guest that we've had on have all said they felt isolated from school. There's been a moment at school where they've, like, if it's queer, their background, their culture, at one point, other children have made them feel like they don't belong. It's every single guest has said the same thing. So, like, obviously it's coming from school, it's been coming from the education.
Which is why I'm in school.
I was gonna come to that later.
Yeah.
The girl who hated school
Yes.
is now in school.
Inspiring young kids
Exactly.
in school, and that's a full circle, isn't it? Like, that's incredible that you now do that.
Yeah.
So when we say Sophie's mental health journey,
Yeah.
what's like a word or a sentence that comes to mind?
Fucking hell. That is the word. Fucking hell.
Literally. Constant.
Yeah, basically. Just one big giant fuckery, basically.
Okay.
Like, I can't even use the word inspiring, happy, that it's just fucking hell.
Yeah. That's it. It's funny, isn't it? Because
I'm glad you're here then.
on the outside, to everybody else, like, I speak to you and I hear your story and I'm like, wow, that's so inspiring. But to you, as the person who's experienced it, it never actually feels the same, does
No.
it? It doesn't always feel inspiring. It's not easy when you're the person who's going through that.
Yeah.
So I guess we're privileged to have you on here to share that, to inspire
you.
other people. So then, when you were young and you were experiencing this racial bullying and that was impacting your mental health, what was it that you then decided to do to channel those feelings and thoughts? Like, was that when you started getting into performance? And do you think
Yeah.
that was channeling your feelings into something that was positive?
Yeah, getting into musical theatre, performing arts, dancing was a way for me dissociate
Yeah.
from kind of me, and I was just a character. I think that's where, like, Sophie Lee was first born.
Yeah.
Because I could just be something else, something wild, crazy, unexpected. But because it was entertaining, it's like, yeah, we want more. So I could just be this crazy character and not be judged because I was meant to be that.
Yeah.
You know, whereas when I turned up as myself, Soph, you're Chinese, you're an outcast, you don't belong here. And I think I got scared of myself and I ran away from myself for quite a little bit. So as much as this musical theatre and performing arts industry helped me to dissociate, it was my therapy as well, because it made me learn so much more about myself. And I think that's where I channeled a lot of kind of all that negativity for a lot of years. A lot of years.
Yeah. I think that's a really like useful piece of advice for people listening as well, that if you are having a tough time and you are struggling, like try and channel it into something that is going to
100%.
bring you joy. That's like the whole reason that Feel Good Club started, was I was going through my eating disorder and I needed, in order to recover and start to get better, I needed to channel it into something positive, and that's how that was born. So
And
I
it was
think
reborn in that exact same way.
Yeah.
I was struggling with my mental health, didn't want to work my 9-to-5 job, felt lost, rechanneled it into Feel Good Club, started making t-shirts, and now we're here again. So it is a really good piece of advice.
Thank you.
the performance side then, so you actually went on to build a business and a career out of it as you got into your, was it like late teens, early 20s?
Yeah.
But ultimately that then led to this tragic incident that happened, right? Should we talk a little bit about that? Are you okay to talk about that?
So I finally got to a place where I felt accepted, where I was, confident in who I was. And because I'd been in the performing arts industry so long, I was so happy because I thought, oh, I've got it all now, it's my everyday life, so it's great. And little did I know, though, because it became my everyday life, it became my personality.
Yeah.
Which is a dangerous thing now that I come to realize it, because then I never had, it's like I forgot about Soph.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be Sophie Lee all the time because she was always praised. She was always like front and center. She was always doing her thing and it was fine, and you could be this other person.
And
Always
that's
a charac-
exhausting.
yeah, always a character. And I enjoyed it. I loved it, don't get me wrong. But it also, like I said, had a turn on. I forgot who I am.
Yeah.
And I forgot things that really matter to me because I was so caught up on pleasing others and turning up and showing up and not being vulnerable, that losing that vulnerability is quite important to have vulnerability.
It is massively.
Yeah, and so when I had this accident, oh my God, I was stripped of everything.
Yeah.
I nearly lost my life, you
Yeah.
know, and it taught me the value of life. I know that's so cheesy and corny.
It's
people say
not
that,
at all.
but it taught me, it humbled me, should I say, to the point of, wow, I have been blind up to now.
Yeah.
I have not lived. So I've just been reborn.
But it's like what you were saying. You kept turning up to places, doing your thing for other people.
Yeah.
Where once the incident happened, you then was turning up for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think you, like you said, you literally forgot to Sophie. You forgot who that person was. And then once the incident happened, all you were was Sophie.
Yeah.
That's all you could be, wasn't it?
For anyone who's listening that might not know what happened, should we talk about what happened on that day?
Yeah, so I was performing. I was a fire performer at that time, and I was performing at a charity event in Chicago, and it was a freak accident, and there was a complication with the aircon system, and the wind blew the fire back in my face and set me on fire. So I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very lucky to have my health, even though I've been on a really crazy physically challenging health journey. The fact that I didn't die is a miracle.
Yeah. Because they thought you were going to, right? They brought a priest into. You were rushed to the hospital.
I was rushed to hospital. I was in intensive care, and they have like days where the priest comes and visits and things like that. Because it was America, it's obviously very religious, and for me, I was going through a really, really dark time then. Like I had hit rock bottom. I've hit rock bottom quite a few times. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
I'm back here again.
We're back. Did you miss me?
But let's pause before we go in. Each time you fucking climbed right back out.
Oh
of there.
my God, I was climbing.
I still can't believe as well, like, obviously the traumatic accident was, like, I can't even get my head around it still. Also, it being in a different country.
Yeah.
So you were completely alone.
Yeah.
In a different country.
Yeah.
You're rushed to hospital. You're literally on fire.
Yeah.
And did you spend like 2 months in the hospital?
It was a month there.
Month.
And then when I came back, it's been about 6 years. It's been about 5 years since then.
Because the journey's still kind of going on, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about then when you're in hospital and kind of what happened there.
Because you didn't want any visitors, right?
Yeah, I didn't want anyone near me. And it's hard because now I'm evaluating it from now. It wasn't that I was hating the world. It was just that I didn't feel like it's one of those where when you love the people you love the most, you push them away the most.
Yeah.
And that was a prime example of what I was doing. And I think I've done that in various aspects. That was because I didn't love myself.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was ugly. How can anyone love me right now? I'm disgusting. I'm a waste to society. I'm no use to anyone. I've just lost everything. And that weighed so heavily on me. I couldn't even look at people in the face. What was I going to do? I'd be crying. They'd be crying. And I just couldn't face it. I just had to be alone, because I think that in itself rehabilitated me to understand what I was going through. And yeah, they sent me there was a priest turn up. And I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. So and I'll never forget him, because he taught me a very valuable lesson. I'm not a religious person, and I was just very lost. And he said something really, really heartfelt that meant something. And it was that, Soph, I'm not here to push the word of God on you. I'm just here to remind you of your light. And the light is always within you. No matter how dim or bright you want that light to shine, it's always within you. Right now, it's a little bit dimmer, and that's okay. But when you want to shine bright, you will feel and see the true beauty of life.
That's beautiful.
Stunning.
That's beautiful. And how did that kind of, because you're alone, I can't even comprehend you've had this traumatic experience, you've done it doing your career and your job, so you've lost that, it's your business, so you're worrying about getting paid, literally everything gone. How did you spend that time alone, mentally? What place were you in there, and what was the turning point where you kind of went, right, okay? Because I can imagine for the first long period of time that you would have just been broken, but what was the turning point where you were like, do you know what, I'm Sophie Lee, I'm out of this?
At this point, I think I was just Soph. I had nothing left to give at all. Energy, or just worth. I just didn't feel worth. I felt worthless, basically. And as my kind of injury progressed, the first few days and weeks, my face changed. So I lost my identity. And to lose your identity physically, for anyone who's gone through, an amputation, or anyone who's gone through a huge dramatic change with their physical appearance, you lose yourself, because you don't know who this new person is. Who is this person?
You don't recognize them.
No, I remember I had my first shower, and I had to be wheeled in a wheelchair. So already in itself, I just felt like, I can't do anything for myself. What use am I? And when they were scrubbing me with this alcohol and this scouring pad all over this new fresh burn, bits of my skin were falling down the drain, blood and hair and just clumps of just me, my DNA going down the drain. And that is a physical sight of losing yourself and shedding the old you. But I wasn't ready to let go of the old me. So I went into a stage of mourning. Where I was really mourning myself and mourning my life, mourning my existence. And I believe that I've gone through different stages of mourning, because in this whole journey, I've had so many steps forward and then so many steps back. Every time that there was a new recurrence of a health complication or another surgery or something's growing, something looks different, it's like you go back to step one again, because you're like, oh my God, I'm back to this pit. That's why I'm there saying hi guys, I'm back in depression now. So,
because it wasn't the fire came back and it was a burn. It turned into tumours.
Yeah.
correct? And it ended up being cancer.
Well,
Cancerous
it was-
tumours, was it? Sorry.
It was a benign tumor,
Yeah.
but because a tumor is linked to the way cancerous tumors and things like that grow, mine is a keloid tumor. So they're benign tumors, they're not cancerous, but they had to treat them as though they were the worst, because I became a case study because there's no cure for keloid tumors. So to be told that after you've gone through everything,
Oh God.
Yeah.
when you're just like,
It's just getting darker and
yeah,
darker and
you're
darker.
just
Yeah.
like, someone turn the lights on, please.
They didn't know if they were going to be able to get rid of them, did they?
Yeah, no, it became an international case, and no surgeon in the world was ready to step up to it and be
Oh my
like,
God.
"I'll help." It was more like, "Good luck with that. Good luck with that."
I don't want that on my hands.
And
Yeah.
do you feel like when this was been told to you, do you feel like a part of you, like this is kind of touching on like manifestation, do you feel like a part of you believed that it would get better?
I think after the second operation, yeah, but the first two, because they were case study operations. At that point, what did I have to lose?
Yeah.
I couldn't really, I couldn't confide in anyone. And
It's not like when they normally go like, oh, 7 out of 10 people.
Yeah, how was it for
come
you?
out- yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you have no
I
idea.
turned to either side and it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, that's so scary.
That's like an incredible thing in itself, that like you were the first person to have this done. And you spoke to us before about the surgeon that agreed to do the operation, right?
yeah. My surgeon in England I was actually misdiagnosed for a year. I was
Why?
diagnosed with a hypertrophic scar, which is basically a scar that just raises from the skin and doesn't grow, whereas this was growing rapid rates to the point where I was finding it hard to speak. I was finding it hard to move, and it was so painful that I was on medication that would just knock me out because it was literally like someone was stabbing my face, and it was so intense. So the surgeon in England, she's called Charlotte Defty. Big up, Charl.
God,
Come
Charlotte.
on, up the girls.
I was about to
Let's
say
go.
that. Of
And
course, a woman stepped up.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And she was incredible. Like, she was so supportive. She just got it. You know,
Yeah.
she just gets it. And another surgeon came forward. He's called Dr. Nimrod. He came forward and flew over. I'm finding it hard to speak about it now because at that point, I think I was just numb. So I can't even put my finger on how I felt.
Yeah.
It was like my life was in someone else's hands.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you do go through surgery, they have to warn you about death. That is something you do have to think about. It's something that everyone has to think about when they go under. It's something they have to talk about because obviously you're going under. And for me, obviously, I just thought, I'm not coming back. That's it. I'm done. That's the end.
And again, alone.
Yeah.
On your own, like thinking those thoughts on your own, hearing these people talk to you about death, and you just go into surgery, and you're the case study, and you have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
that is petrifying.
And
You're so strong, so strong.
I don't, do you know what? It's weird because I don't feel like I am. I'm just a girl. Yeah, I tried to remain positive. So I was trying to do things that were still within my personality. 'Cause come on, at the end of the day, you can't forget who you are. Like, I'm a bit of a joker.
Yeah.
I don't like being down in the dumps. Yeah, I get emotional. Yeah, I get in my feels. But ultimately, she's a performer. You know, she likes making people laugh.
So you start your TikTok.
Yeah.
If you've not seen them yet, you need to jump on and go and see them because they are brilliant.
They are.
So, do you think that was your coping mechanism at the time?
Yeah, and I think that was my coping mechanism for everyone around me.
Yeah.
That I was okay. It's okay. I'm okay. But on the inside, I was absolutely shaking like a leaf, shitting myself, thinking, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
There's no coming back.
So this is a pattern then, like you always seem to have channeled the things that are scary, that are difficult, into some sort of performance or doing something to
Lighthearted.
make other people laugh. Yeah,
Yeah.
to be lighthearted. And I think sometimes, like, even though that can be hard to do in certain moments, sometimes that's, you just have to do it. You just have to think, well, this is where I am. How can I make myself feel better? And that's what you did.
Yeah, I think because I've lived through times where I felt really sad and alone, my kind of social love language is to make people feel happy and to laugh and to let them know that it's okay. And I don't know, it's like sometimes probably I forget that it's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
And it's only after my surgeries, when I started to heal and really deal with the mental side, not the physical health side, that I had mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
And I really knew what depression was and really got to learn the hard way of this is only the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, the physical health side was kind of the easy part, really, because you had someone else helping you. You had a surgeon help operate on you, and that's 50%. The other 50% is your mental. And if your mental's not good, it's a long road.
Yeah.
And obviously, whilst you're in a hospital, like you said, you was these coping mechanisms of keeping your mental health side of it more positive, like trying to focus yourself on performance and on TikToks and stuff. But there was also a lady in hospital called May, who also kept you going. Can you tell us a little bit more about May and what that brought to you at that time?
Gorgeous May. My heart just absolutely melted when I met May. She was an old lady who was in hospital for dialysis. She had dementia, and she was in the hospital bed across from me. And I'd wake up, and the first few mornings she'd kind of forget where she was. So she was really like dissociated, a little bit scared, I'd say. And it's daunting. It's a lot when you know, a bit older and you feel alone and you're being surrounded by all these medical whatevers. Yeah. It's a lot. So I decided to make friends with this old lady, and I decided to move my kind of seat over to her and have dinner, breakfast, lunch, and, you know, all tea breaks, things like that with her, and just talk. Because ultimately, we're all in the same boat right now. We're at the most vulnerable parts of our lives, the scariest times of our lives, and we all just need a friend. So as I got speaking to her, she told me about her life experiences. She said to me, you know, Sophie, you're at the beginning of your life. I'm nearing the end. And just that in itself broke my heart.
Yes.
For someone to realize that they're kind of veering on to the end of their life, made me just love her even more. And I just wanted to be there for her so much, to let her know that you're not alone. Like, I'm here. And she told me about the times where, back in the good old days, where, you know, she courted her husband, and like she was going to the dance. She'd sneak out to the dance and then go back home. Curfew was 7 p.m. And yeah, she dated a Norwegian sailor who then became her husband. And she told me about all these amazing stories. And ultimately the message was that your life is just one chance, and we're very grateful that we're very lucky to have a second chance.
Do you think that conversation with her, of her saying to you like that you're at the start of your life, do you think that kind of may have shifted something in you to realize like this isn't gonna like end me, I'm like starting still, and I'm here, and I'm not gonna like give up?
Yeah, I think she reminded me that this shouldn't overpower me. It should empower me.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
I love that.
Spending time with her. I think she made me realize the value of time and the value of what we spend our time on. And for quite a while, I was spending it on having a pity party for myself and
Which
grieving.
you deserve to be able to do.
Yes.
You deserve that time.
But then I came to a point where I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm actually ready now
Yeah.
to like
I need
pick
to move.
myself up.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that then. What was that bit like? Like, you had been in hospital, you'd had the surgeries were a success. You were still going through and have still been going through chemo for those like 6 years, haven't you? But you then started to like come back as Sophie Lee. You'd started
Yeah.
building a following on social media. Like, how was that? And how was like coming back into yourself? How was that whilst navigating like the journey with your mental health?
Yeah. Your whole view of the world changes, you know. Once you kind of like reach rock bottom,
Yeah.
you're so fragile that everything that happens in your life is like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah.
How do I feel? Why do I feel like this? What's going on? Why am I so sad? And going through a trauma changed everything in my life, my personal life, my love life, my work life, my outlook on life. I became so sensitive. I don't know if it's good or bad. I think it's a bit of both. Because it taught me to take time out for myself and think about, who do I want to be? Like, it brought me back to the point of, okay, I'm a blank canvas again.
I was just about to say, it's basically reborn, like you said before in the
Yeah.
shower, like you were literally being reborn.
Yeah. And up to that point of being a performer, I think I was covering my traumas. Whereas now, I thought, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to embrace my traumas and be the role model that I needed when I was growing up.
I love that.
Because, yeah, growing up, there was no Asian girl in the public eye. There was no one that I could relate to anyway that made me feel somewhat kind of relatable to them and, you know, I'm normal. It was just more of like, I don't know, the perception of beauty was just so like, this is what you have to look like. This is your weight. This is the perfect, this is the, and
It's so
yeah.
damaging. So damaging, isn't it?
Yeah.
That message of like, this is what you need to be.
You have literally turned your struggle into a success. Like, that is what we want to talk about in this podcast, and you've literally done that. Like, the hitting rock bottom, struggling so much, you've come out of that hospital and gone, right, I'm going to turn this into a success for myself. So, like, you are huge now. Like, you're a huge influencer. You're doing all these influencing events.
Just won
You're
a
working with
Influence
Katie,
of the Year award.
Influence of the Year award, guys. Working with like huge people like Katie Piper, like huge influential people. Working with like huge brands like L'Oreal. Like, you've literally turned your struggle into a success. But within that, do you now think you've taught yourself to be Sophie Lee and Soph?
yeah.
Is it still two separate people?
Now I can recognize two separate people.
And you never used to be able to do that?
That's why I kind of lost myself, because then I was like, who am I away from being on stage? Who am I?
So who are those two people?
Sophie Lee is, you know, I'd like to say the put together version of me, of remembering everything I've been through and wearing that t-shirt with pride. You know, like, yes, she's done it. She is here. I'm here to tell my story. And then Soph, the girl behind closed doors, to my closest friends and family, she's just a girl that wants to sit in, watch films and eat pizza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And cry
We
now
love
and then.
that.
Yeah. Like, it's so nice to be able to now live in both
Yes.
and direct both.
Yeah.
Not losing my head between both.
You spoke at the Louvre. I can never pronounce
The Louvre, I'd say. The Louvre.
It's
Salford
French,
Louvre.
darling.
You spoke at the Louvre.
Yeah, love. We spoke in the love. Do you know what I mean?
Look at that gorgeous building in Paris. Yeah.
For L'Oreal, like, that's incredible. What? How do you switch between? So, like, if Sophie's having a bad day, but Sophie Lee has to go to the Louvre.
To love. Go to that place in Paris.
one of the most
whatnot.
one of the most famous buildings in the entire world, to speak for one of the biggest brands in the entire world. Do you find that easy to do? Can you do that?
No, I cannot.
I love the honesty. like you said, if you woke up that morning and you was like, I'm mentally not feeling okay, and you still had to go and do that talk at L'Oreal, like, do you have a way of like leaving it here?
Yeah.
Do you get to like, I know you suffer with panic attacks.
Yeah.
Do you have like a coping mechanism now where you're like, right, this is what I need to do to leave it here and go and be Sophie Lee now?
Yeah. I don't speak. It's so strange.
You don't speak?
No.
I want to witness this.
I'm a speaker, but when I'm nervous, I just don't speak. When I've got to speak, prior to it, I don't speak.
So
Like,
you just...
I have no words.
Collect your thoughts.
Yeah. I think because I used to be so emotional and like, like, what is going on? My coping mechanism now is just have a moment of silence.
Mm-hmm.
That is my way to like bring it all back to me.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a weird one because you think a girl that is, you know, her job is to speak doesn't want to speak. So the team members of L'Oreal come up to me a few moments before I'm going to go on stage. Bear in mind, I've been speaking, I've been fine, I've been whatever. I've gone into now panic mode. They're like, are you okay? You're about to go and do your speech now. Okay, cool. Shh, don't speak. And they're like, why is she not speaking? Inside my head, it's basically doomsday inside my head's going on.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole world just ended. Everything's exploded. Things are going left, right, and centre. All colours of the rainbow are exploding in my head. On the outside, I'm just getting the zone. And then it was like 2 seconds before I went on, and I was like, hi guys. They were like, oh, thank God.
Thank goodness she's
Thank
okay.
God, we thought she went mute. We thought she had a panic attack and went mute.
But that's it. That's a coping mechanism for you. And I think that's why these conversations are so good, because one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast was to speak to people like yourself who are doing these incredible things and show other people that if that's the way they deal with things as well, that like they're not alone. Like there's so many ways to navigate and deal with bad days or experiences with your mental health. And I think it's so important that like we talk about all of them and how we all cope with them.
Yeah.
I really, really suffer with public speaking. I hate the way I speak. So for years, I never used
I
to
love
do
the
it.
way you speak.
I love it as well.
Yeah.
I'm
You
getting
have
over
to.
it.
You must live
I've-
it.
yeah, I have
Yeah.
to.
You
So-
live with it.
I've
No, you live it with
I really, really suffered with it. And then my coping mechanism now when we're going to go and do it, like for example, things like this, I always think to myself how I'm going to feel after. Because it's the fear of going on, but coming off, you're always buzzing.
Yeah.
You're literally like, oh my God, I've just done
Which is
that.
it.
Like, that is insane. Like, when you left that 3 minutes, you'd have been like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And like, now you're really proud. So now when I go on my thing, like yours is silent, my fingers, imagining my body, like how, like, literally feeling my body
Oh, I
excited
love that.
afterwards. And it always helps. That's
I
my
love that. I'm going to keep that tip.
Yeah.
Another part of, and I'd be interested to know kind of what led up to this and how it impacted you positively, but you decided to take some time out to be celibate, right?
Yes.
And away from relationships.
Yes.
What was that like?
I've done in total, so I did a year of celibacy when I first had my accident. And then I tried dating again. And I tried, you know, meeting people, meeting new people, conversations, and just getting my self-confidence back to kind of re-immersing into life. And it was way too much. So then I took out for myself 2 years of celibacy. And that time was so important for me. And that time has made me reevaluate what intimacy means to me. Intimacy is so sacred in my eyes. Coming from trauma, it's such a big thing for me. Even kissing someone because they're so close to my face is like a really big deal.
Yeah.
So I think I get really scared because also I'm scared of rejection.
Yeah.
I'm scared of not feeling pretty enough, not feeling enough. Because at one point I just felt ugly. I just felt so ugly. I felt like, who the hell is going to want to love me or ever going to love me? Because I didn't love myself. Like, I really hated me, everything about me. So in these 2 years, I hit the gym. I worked on self-confidence. I became a lot more self-aware. And I became a lot more in tune with my needs and what I actually want in a person who's going to be a partner. Not just validation of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From someone else. Like, that's just attention at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. You really dug deep on what do I actually want?
Yeah.
When you decided to start working on yourself and your self-confidence, did that end up being about you, not a partner?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not doing this for someone else to want me. I'm doing it because I need my self-worth to be as high as that.
Because sex, intimacy, being acknowledged by someone else was just out the window. That wasn't what I was focused on. My main focus was on, do I actually like me? Am I a good enough partner? Am I actually good enough and, you know, in a fit state to date? And my answer was no, you're not. And I think a lot of the times in the world nowadays, unhealed people are trying to heal unhealed people. And we're not focusing on healing ourselves first. You know, as selfish as that sounds, I know that sounds really selfish.
I don't think that's selfish at all.
No, I don't.
That's good.
I really
But
don't
it's
think
like what
it's
you're saying about like
selfish.
self-love isn't selfish. I think we get, as a society, like it's all about everybody else. Like you said, your performances, your this, your business, everything's about everybody else. Where I think it's not. It's as long as you love you, you can then love others. I see it.
Yeah.
As.
And that's exactly that. I think my view of myself at that point was so low, and I didn't value my attributes as a person, not just aesthetically, you know. And so I wanted to be happy and healthy within myself, knowing that I could show up for someone else as that person. Because up until then, I think because my self-esteem was so low, dating people was just to validate the fact that, no, you are pretty enough. No, you are good enough. But it wasn't actually of substance.
Yeah, it's a dangerous cycle to be in, isn't it? When you're doing that for validation. It's so valid at the time why you do it, because we're all human and we all want to be like wanted by other people.
Of course. We love having our ego stroked.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love feeling like, oh, you're admired, someone likes me? But when you work on yourself, you have to take the ego and pride away. And that is a very hard thing to do.
How do you think you did that?
From celibacy.
Yeah.
Because my pride didn't rely on being admired.
I love
My
that.
pride came from stepping up as a good person. And that's when I knew I'm whole again.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And that creates, in my opinion, like super healthy relationships as well, because when you have like really low self-worth, the way that you treat yourself and think about yourself teaches other people how they're allowed to treat you. So you take a lot more shit from people that when your self-worth is high up, you're not taking that because you know what you deserve. And I think if two people go into a relationship with that mindset of, this is what I deserve, what we both deserve, you have a lot more love and respect for each other.
Well, that made me, having this time alone and doing celibacy helped me realize how I could step into my feminine energy, but also my masculine energy. And when it was the right time for both of those energies. So when you're in a relationship, as a woman, you want to be more feminine in your feminine energy because you're nurturing, you're giving. When you're in your business life, you're stepping into your masculine energy. So I learned to differentiate both, and that in turn made me feel a lot more confident in myself, knowing that I'm not just trying to be this bold masculine energy all the time. It was okay to be a little bit more, you know, stripped back, a little bit more laid back, let you do your thing, you know, I'm doing my thing, and just not be so uptight.
Oh, I'm learning that right now. So I said, actually, funnily enough, I said to Kira the other day, I'm kind of like being a little spoon. I used to always want to be the big spoon. You know, you in bed and you like want to be the big spoon.
Always wanted to be the big
Kira
spoon.
always wants to be the big spoon, and we've argued quite a lot about
I'm a
who's
big
the big spoon.
Oh, okay.
Where recently, I'm starting to like go through this thing. I think I am quite uptight person. Like I stress and worry about a lot of things. And recently, in the past few months, I'm trying to loosen up a little. And within my loosening up,
Right.
I've decided I like being the little spoon.
Yeah. So spoil me.
It's different energies. It's different. It's like what you're talking about. It's the different energies, isn't it? It's, and it's letting yourself be okay with those different energies.
Yeah.
I think when you spend so long having to be so strong, sometimes that becomes your personality, and you're like, I can't be vulnerable now because that's going to take me back to a place where I felt scared.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, no, you're allowed to be vulnerable. You're allowed to be cuddled. You're allowed to be the little spoon.
I think that's what I'm learning.
Yeah.
Is like now that I am dating someone. I'm learning to kind of be vulnerable, and that's okay. That sometimes my masculine just needs to be left at work, and it's okay to just step back and see where it is and nurture this person and show love and not feel ashamed for it, and not feel like, you know, it's cheesy or it's bad. Like, I think I'm starting to learn how to step into my femininity and nurture without feeling bad or without feeling like it's a tit for tat thing in a relationship or in a growing friendship or relationship. It has been hard because sometimes I think, oh no, forget it all. Like, I just need to go back to being by myself. It's all too much. But then I'm like, if I keep doing that, I'm never going to build relationships. I'm always going to keep self-sabotaging.
It's a comfort zone, isn't it? Like, your comfort zone for so long has been
Being alone.
I'm on my own. I'm doing this myself. And then you suddenly step out of your comfort zone and your brain does everything it can to be like, no, bad idea. Don't do that. Don't do that. Come back where we're safe. Come back here. But you're stepping out of it. And I love that.
Thank you.
We're big on stepping outside the comfort
We are
zone.
stepping out and
So
showing
big
up.
on it. But within that, doing all these things that are stepping out your comfort zone, from relationships, business, you know, your life in general, like, do you now suffer with anxiety? And I know you obviously, like you said, you suffer with panic attacks and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
do you think that's all come from this incident?
Yes, for sure. I probably am the most anxious person in the room. I get social anxiety and I get anxious when I'm in new spaces. That's why I think I overreact to kind of mask that.
Because that's your job.
Yeah.
Part of your job is to go into new spaces
Yeah.
and socialise.
Why did I pick that job?
But that's all about leaving it here again.
That's
isn't
made
it?
me realise. Maybe that's what's triggering me.
Fuck. But that's what it is. It's leaving it here again. It's leaving Soph, who could, like, is that how you see it?
Yeah. Because now when I spend time with people who are close to me, I'm just no makeup, no loud noises, just chill, just myself, having a laugh, having a cry if I need to, and it's okay. It is okay. Whereas when I'm in everyday life, you're out in the big wide world. So you've got this armor on where you have to protect yourself, and you're naturally going to protect yourself from any kind of negativity that's going to come your way, whether it does or not. So, yeah, I think being anxious it's I don't know, it's weird because it's always here. I'm always quite anxious because I've always been by myself. So I'm always overthinking the worst before it's even happened.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that all the time, and I always have to remind myself that I'm sitting here spending hours worrying. And I think back to like other occasions that I've done it, where I've spent hours worrying about something and nothing's actually ever come of it. So whenever that happens to me, I'm always like, Kira, remember the last time we sat here for like 5 days, been worried about something that you weren't even going to say out loud, and then nothing happened. Like, it is difficult, but that's anxiety, isn't it? And you can say all of these things, but it doesn't necessarily like get rid of the feeling. But do you think that that's intensified by being in the public eye because you've got a following, you're on social media, that's like your thing now, right? Do you think that, how is that being on social media? Do you think that adds an element of anxiety to you?
I actually read something the other day, and the emotions of excitement and sadness and anxiousness all are the same kind of emotion, which is stress. Because your body's under stress at that point, because you're so hyped up that your body doesn't know what to do. You're just overwhelmed with this emotion. So being on this roller coaster ride where every time something different happens, it's a different emotion, but it's so heightened. It's a lot of pressure. And how do you navigate that pressure? Especially me, I'm a one-man band. I'm just me. Yeah, it's like you have to show up for yourself in every way possible. But some days you just want to say, no.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, not today.
So on that as well, obviously, with anxiety, being in the public eye, being on social media, having the following that you've got, has it all been positive towards your incident, or have you had negativity? Is like, how is that? Because obviously we own Feel Good Club. Even though it's Feel Good Club, we've had comments in the past which are like, you know, What right do you have? Like, you're not a doctor. We're not trying to be any of that. We're just being ourselves. Like, obviously, your story and your following and your page is all about you and your journey. Have people had something to say on that?
Oh my God, so many things to say. I've had things where it's like, you should have died, you don't deserve to live, you're ugly. Yeah.
People are dicks.
Yeah.
Honestly, some people are just dicks.
But thank you, because you made me stronger.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that?
At first, I was so upset. Sometimes I still do get upset because it is a big attack on your integrity as a person and you.
You're
and
not
what
a
you're
product.
going through.
It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So when people do go to the way you look and the most personal part of you, when you're still going through something, you do kind of want to turn around and say, listen, I'm fucking going through it.
Yeah.
So give me a break.
Yeah.
But you can't say that because you've got more to lose than that person does.
Yeah.
When you are in the public eye and that person isn't. So they're not going to be reprimanded for it.
Yeah.
You're going to be absolutely dragged to the end of it.
Yeah.
You
For
know.
sticking up for yourself.
Yeah. So it's help me just think, these people who hate the most need love the most. And that's all I'm here for, is to spread love and spread positivity and to remind people that it's okay. We're going to get through this. And the people who give you hate, they're the people that need this message more than ever.
100%.
I love that.
And that's how you're going forward.
Yeah.
Spreading love. And you do that by going into schools now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because I find this super inspiring. It's something that me and Kira really want to go and start doing, talk about mental health in schools. Like, tell us what you do with that.
So I go into schools and host assemblies, but also host classes individually with students to talk about bullying, racism, resilience, and also what being an influencer actually means. Because we are going into an age where social media is a job now.
Kids
available.
want to be that. Like, I asked my goddaughter a few years ago, what do you want to be? And she said an influencer. I was like, whoa, like, but it's a career now. And I think the word influencer can get like a bad name and a bad rep, but I think people still aren't necessarily aware of what that is and what it entails.
I don't even think, do you know what, it's so strange because I don't even see myself as an influencer. I'm just me that documented some shit that happened to me. And if you're here for it, great. If you're not, great. But this is just me and everything that's going to happen. So I don't feel like, how can you say to someone, or how can you come to someone and say, I am influential? That's why sometimes I feel really like weird saying I'm an influencer, because who the hell am I to tell someone that I'm influential? That should be based off everything you do and how people take what you've done as being influential or not. Does that make sense?
100%.
Well, I mean, there's one way of knowing it. And when I congratulated you earlier, you said that you felt like you didn't deserve it. So let's talk a little bit about that. You got Influence of the Year award, which, if anything, that is telling you you are influential. But your first reaction was, oh, I don't know, I feel like I didn't deserve it.
I don't know, like, it felt really weird to accept something that was so big, because I felt like I haven't got to that point yet to be like, oh, I've done enough for the world.
But what is that point?
I don't know.
Exactly. We say this all the time, and people are like, what is that point where you're like, okay, I'm done now? It's not, we're never going to be at that point. But like, you're doing so much, like to go into school, like that's a full 360 in itself. You being bullied, you have having the racism at school, to then go into schools teaching that in itself is enough. To then do it on social media, to then like spreading your love, spreading your message, being a case study, like that is so much. But it's funny how within ourselves we never feel like it's enough.
I feel like this accident, which has been part of my life in terms of healing the whole journey, it's past 6 years now going on, I'm like 6 years behind. But that's me thinking in my brain of, no, you're living in your old life. That's not your life anymore. This is your life. So you've got to be grateful for what it is and move forward with everything it is, not some parts of it.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I think
Some days I think, fucking hell. Like,
and that's
I'm not
okay.
enough.
Like, but that's okay, and we all experience that. And like we were talking earlier about how you felt overwhelmed because you've got so much going on at the moment. And then you were like, but I should be grateful. But I think it's just this pattern of, and I think social media has an impact on that as well, because there's so much noise on there that tells you that you must be this or you must be that. And just society and humans as general, like, I think we find it hard to celebrate our successes. I think we find it hard to say, yeah, I'm doing something really, really good. And I think then we also find it really easy to beat ourselves up when we don't feel grateful for every good thing that happens. But some days you're just going to have a shit day, and that's fine for it to be that. There'll be a couple of days later where you're like, I'm buzzing with my life. Like, no one's going to be up here 24/7.
I've tried the whole 5 a.m. club, and then we do this, and then we do meditation, and we have a green juice, and then we're trying to be wholesome. It's a load of bullshit. I'm actually a fucking mess. My whole life is held together by a paperclip. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work for me. I'm trying to read my books. I'm trying to hydrate. I'm trying to do whatever.
It's fine though. Like, and I say this so many times that, like, social media is that. It tells you that you must be part of the 5 a.m. club. You must do this. You must get up at this time or drink this or eat this. Yeah. Whereas every single person is different. What works for me isn't going to work for you. What works for Amy isn't going to work for me. So, like, it's just about finding what does work for you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's a journey in itself. Yeah. And I feel like you're on that journey. You've been on it for so long. It's
so weird because when you live it, you know, when you own a business, you're doing your thing, you're in it. Yeah. So you don't see it. You're just living it and trying to get through another day and trying to navigate the day. But from an outsider, like, for me to see your journey, I'm inspired. I'm fully so in awe of you two and the way that you navigate your business, your life, your relationship. It's so admirable to me.
Thank you.
So for you to say that about me is like...
We all do it. So we're all trying to better ourselves by looking at everybody else. But like you said, it's your key message of this whole conversation has been, look within yourself. Yeah. Like, as long as you're happy every single day, like when you wake up, like, you're gonna have bad days, good days, but as long as you're feeling happy within yourself, you're gonna get through it. That's basically all that matters.
I actually think that is the message of this podcast, but I also think the message is, like, tell each other more how much we inspire each other, and let's tell each other more how much we think we're doing a good job to each other, because it builds you up. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you know, it's one thing, I've been on that journey to believe in it yourself, but sometimes we just got to be nice to each other and tell people how we actually feel about each other, you know?
Yeah.
So Soph, it's been a crazy, traumatic whirlwind of a 6 years for you. Like, and for you to be sitting here now, like, honestly, like, thank you so much. But what does the future hold now for Soph? What have you got coming up? You know, you're just winning awards, writing a book.
She's just a girl, but she's also an author.
Yeah. You're working alongside Katie Piper on some stuff, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
So she actually reached out to me and we connected over Instagram. She reached out to me when I was in hospital and we became friends. So she saw, obviously, I was going through a really rough time and I was on so much medication, and she could relate to me because she's gone through a rough time, you know, and she's gone through so much. She's actually someone that I looked up to before she even got in contact with me. So the fact she even acknowledged me was like, hi.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And she really reassured me that this is part of your growth. Don't see this as a setback in your life. This is what's going to be you. So we kept in touch. I helped with her foundation and her charity, the KP Foundation, and we've remained friends. She's so amazing, by the way. She is the most down-to-earth person and such an iconic woman. Hilarious. Hilarious woman. And she came to me and said, would you like to work on a project together? I want to start a series called The Unseen, where I, you know, give a platform to people, women who have overcome adversity in their lives, to share their story and to tell it from your point. I was like, me? A book? I'd at this point not really opened my mind to reading. And at school, I was shit in school. I'm not going to lie. I was awful. I was just there just kind of be a class clown to me. I was there for a good time. It was like a bit of a pinch me moment because I never in my life thought I would be an author ever. That's not where I ever saw myself. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So these past year or so has been kind of like having therapy sessions, and we've been writing. So it's been good.
So excited.
I can't wait to read it.
So excited.
When's it coming out?
Hopefully early spring 2024.
Amazing.
Note that down.
Get that in your calendars. Get it in the calendars.
And it's about a memoir of my life. Not even just from the accident. So about when I lived in China, so my childhood, growing up, how I got into being in theatrics, my parents, growing up, me, my mum, we were kind of loggerheads. So we had quite a few years where we didn't get on. Whereas now, bloody hell, I love the bones of her. Angela, come on. Love her. Whereas for a few years, because I was so lost and the racial bullying, like I said, took a massive hit on me, I was pushing a lot of people that love me away. So we just didn't get on. So it talks about all those things. And it talks about heartbreak, boys, love life, no love life, life.
I can't wait.
really
I cannot
excited.
wait to read that. I have absolutely loved this conversation. And we've got two things that we do at the end of the podcast that I'm going to ask you now. The first thing is to give one piece of advice for someone listening now that might be struggling. What is the one thing that you want to say to them?
You are fucking amazing.
Woo! Yeah, we
Just
love it.
being here. You know, I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve something every day and achieve more, that just showing up for yourself is an achievement in itself. So if you're having a bad day, allow yourself to have those bad days. If you're having a break, have a break. But don't let it fear you from becoming better. You know, take the good with the bad, the happy and the sad.
I love it.
Yes,
Beautiful.
Sophie. Yes.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Gold dust.
And then what we do with all of our guests, so the podcast is obviously called Leave It Here. We ask them to write something down that they want to let go of.
I'd say I want to leave behind all the times I never believed in myself.
Yes. Write it down.
God, that is actually beautiful. I always sound
And we're letting them go.
sarcastic.
We're leaving them here. And from now forwards, you will believe in yourself no matter what. So next time you win an influencer award or an award for whatever it might be, and I say congratulations, you're going to be like, I fucking deserve that.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen. Put it in the box.
Put it in the box, Soph. Put it in the box. You pop that right in there.
Thank you.
Believe in yourself.
Goodbye.
And you're done. See you later. Oh, thank you so much, Sophie.
Sophie, thank you
loved
so
this
much.
chat.
Thank you for having me. You two, like I said, inspirational, inspiring women who just. Do you know when sometimes you need tough love? They give you tough love with love. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It does actually,
It
yeah.
Like,
Actually
you give
does.
me
It
tough
does.
Yeah.
love.
So you just get up, but do it nice there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slowly when you're getting up.
But I need that.
Yeah.
I'm a person that needs that. I think because when you're a strong person, who does a strong person look up to?
Yeah.
Look to?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's what I
it's
need as well.
hard.
I need tough love. But with like a stroke.
Yeah.
Like a little like, oh.
Yeah. Let me cry, but then
Yeah.
tell me, come on, hurry up.
Sophie, keep being you, babe.
For one last time. I'm just a girl.
Just a girl.